Hey, this is Tony with Music Guy Online, and I've got your 3-minute mix fix video tutorial of the week. And today, I'm talking about how to use a multiband compressor. Multiband dynamics, another way of putting it, is basically just a compressor which splits the audio into different frequencies and compresses them separately, whereas just a basic compressor is just slap it on and it affects the entire thing. A multiband gives you a little bit more of a precision tweak to affecting the sound the way you want it and compressing different bands. And so I have a basic one right here in live. This comes stock with it. Pretty much any standard multiband compressor or dynamic tool is going to have or look very similar. It's going to have the same settings. It's basically just a compressor, so you have, your ratio right here. Your threshold is just presented in a different spot compared to our basic compressor that I have over here. And it's even got, our attack and release, but you'll see it has everything in threes because we have 3 different bands that we can split the audio into and, set cutoffs for where we want to affect what, how. Confused? Let me explain. So in this song, still working on Holiday right here. Let me just see, I can affect where I want to start this particular section. This is the high band compressor. So everything above 6 kilohertz is being processed and compressed in this way with these settings. Like a 1:2 ratio, 2.06 with this threshold, and then these attack release settings. And everything below that, but above the lowest band of 160 hertz, is the mids, and that's all being compressed in this way. And then the lowest, chunk of our mix is being compressed in this way. And we can change where these cutoffs begin and end just by moving these dials as such. And, so we can have more of it being in the low if we want. We can, so depending on what kind of bass we're using, just an example, a practical example of how you would use this, like a very bassy track, if you have a lot of bass, which, doesn't maybe necessarily cut off at the standard, 100 or 150 hertz. Maybe we have a bit more in that area that we normally would. So we want to bring more of that in to be processed in a similar way, if that's the goal. Conversely, or maybe even similarly, we look at the high end and we say, well, 6 hertz, that's like the really high stuff. Maybe we want to bring it down to catch a bit more of, kind of the harshness that you get sometimes. And, remove that from the mids where a lot of the mix stands. And we want to compress maybe everything above 1 kilohertz or maybe 2 kilohertz. Something like that, and compress it in that way. So this gives you a lot more control over how you affect whatever you're compressing in your mix. We can do this on a standard, like an individual level, or we can do it on a global level, such as a submix. Generally, you're going to use a multi-band compressor on a more global level, or at least on like a whole collection of tracks, like the vocal bus or something like that. You're not going to use it on one particular instrument because their EQ and just sort of waveform and frequencies are much simpler and don't take up nearly as much space. Submix, much more complicated, and that's where this multi-band compressor comes into effect. So we'll talk about how to use it on a submix in a follow-up video pretty soon. But just to give you an idea, multi-band compressor is a great tool to use in moderation, as always, on a submix level or whenever you have a collection of tracks which you need to compress in a certain way. And just your standard dummy compressor, set it and forget it thing isn't quite as precise as you need. All right. So I'm Tony with Music Guy Online. Check back with me every week. Please subscribe if you haven't. We do this every week. And hope to see you next time.